The alarm screamed through the command center, but nobody moved to help. Taeho stood in front of the large screen, watching the blinking red dot that marked Princess Haesun's shuttle. It was deep in pirate territory now, far beyond where anyone would dare to go. "We cannot authorize a rescue mission," the coalition commander said. His blue skin seemed to glow under the harsh lights. "That sector belongs to the Navari Empire. If we send ships there, it means war." Taeho's hands formed into fists. He had protected Haesun on 5 different missions before this one. She trusted him. She had smiled at him just yesterday before boarding that shuttle. "Then I'll go alone," Taeho said quietly. The commander laughed. It was not a kind sound. "You? One human? The pirates have 40 armed fighters on that station. You would die before reaching her cell." Taeho turned and walked toward the door. He did not ask for permission. He did not wait for approval. Humans had learned long ago that sometimes you had to act, even when others told you it was impossible. 6 hours later, Taeho floated in the darkness of space. His small stealth pod drifted toward the pirate station like a piece of debris. The station was old, a mining facility abandoned 50 years ago. Now it was home to the worst criminals in 3 systems. He checked his weapons: 2 plasma pistols stolen from the armory, 1 combat knife, 3 grenades. Not enough for 40 enemies, but it would have to be enough. The pod touched against the station's hull with a soft bump. Taeho worked quickly, cutting through the outer panel with a laser torch. The metal peeled back, and he pulled himself inside. The corridor was dark and smelled like oil and rot. Taeho moved like a shadow, his boots making no sound on the metal floor. He had studied the station's layout for 3 hours during the flight. He knew where the detention block would be. The first pirate died without knowing what hit him. Taeho's knife went through his neck before he could raise his weapon. The second pirate managed to shout, but the sound was cut short. Alarms began to wail. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Taeho ran. He knew they would come now, all of them. He ducked into a side passage and pulled out one of the grenades. When the first group of pirates rounded the corner, he threw it. The explosion shook the walls and sent bodies flying. "Human!" someone shouted. "There's a human on the station!" Taeho used their confusion. He moved through the smoke, firing his plasma pistols at anything that moved. Pirates fell, screaming in pain and surprise. They were strong, yes. They had better weapons, yes. But they expected their enemies to fight fair, to stand and trade shots. Taeho fought like humans always fought. He used the environment. He blew holes in the walls to create new paths. He turned off the gravity in one sector, watching pirates float helplessly while he picked them off one by one. He released toxic gas from the mining equipment, forcing them to retreat. By the time he reached the detention block, 20 pirates were dead. The others were scattered, scared, hunting for an enemy they could not predict. The detention block door was locked with an electronic seal. Taeho placed his last grenade against it and ducked around the corner. The explosion tore the door from its frame. Inside, Haesun sat in a small cell. Her face was bruised and her arm hung at a wrong angle. But when she saw Taeho, her eyes went wide with hope. "You came," she whispered. "Always," Taeho said. He shot the lock on her cell and helped her stand. She was weak, barely able to walk. "Can you run?" he asked. "I can try." They moved back through the station, but now the pirates were ready. They had blocked the path back to Taeho's entry point. Bullets and plasma bolts filled the air around them. Taeho pushed Haesun behind a metal crate and returned fire. His shoulder burned where a bullet had grazed him. He could feel blood running down his arm, but he kept shooting. "The hangar!" Haesun shouted. "They have shuttles there." Taeho nodded. It was their only chance. He grabbed her hand and they ran. Behind them, the pirates screamed and fired. A plasma bolt hit Taeho's back, burning through his armor. The pain was like fire, but he did not stop. They burst into the hangar. 3 shuttles sat waiting. Taeho shot the controls to the hangar doors, starting the opening sequence. Air began to rush out as the doors slowly opened to space. The pirates came through the door behind them. Taeho put himself between them and High Sun. He fired both pistols until they were empty, then threw them at the nearest enemies. A pirate's bullet hit his leg. Another hit his chest. Taeho fell to one knee, blood pouring from his wounds. But he had bought enough time. Hae-sun pulled him toward the nearest shuttle. Her broken arm screamed with pain, but she was strong, stronger than anyone knew. They fell through the shuttle door together. Hae-sun slammed her good hand on the controls, and the engines roared to life. The shuttle lurched forward, racing through the opening hangar doors just as they began to close. Pirates fired at them from the hangar, but the shots went wide. They were free. Taeho lay on the floor of the shuttle, bleeding from 5 different wounds. The world was starting to go dark at the edges. He could hear Hae-sun crying as she tried to set a course, tried to stop his bleeding, tried to do everything at once. "Stay with me," she begged. "Please, Taeho, stay with me." He wanted to. He tried. But the darkness was so heavy. The last thing he remembered was the shuttle shaking as something hit them. An explosion. They were falling. Then everything went black. When consciousness came again, it came in pieces. Cold metal under his back. Voices speaking in a language he did not know. The smell of something sharp and chemical. He tried to open his eyes, but his body would not obey. He was so tired, so cold. Somewhere nearby, Hae-sun was shouting at someone. He could hear her voice, strong and angry, demanding they save him. Then the darkness took him again, pulling him down into a place where there was no pain, no cold, only silence. The white ceiling was the first thing Taeho saw when he woke up. It was smooth and clean, nothing like the rusty metal of the pirate station. He tried to sit up, but his body felt like it was made of lead. "Don't move." The voice was harsh and clicking, speaking through a translator. "Your wounds are severe. The healing gel needs more time." Taeho turned his head slowly. A creature stood beside his bed. It looked like a giant insect, standing on 2 legs. Its body was covered in dark purple plates, and its 4 arms moved with precise, controlled motions. This was a Nevari. "Where is Hae-sun?" Taeho asked. His voice came out as a whisper. "The human female is safe. She had minor injuries. You, however, should be dead." The Nevari's translator made its words sound flat, emotionless. "You had 5 bullet wounds, 3 plasma burns, internal bleeding, and severe infection. Human bodies are weak. It is surprising you survived." Taeho tried to remember what happened after the shuttle was hit. Everything was foggy. "Your shuttle crashed on the border of our colony world," the Nevari explained. "Our patrol found you. The female was screaming for help. You were nearly dead." "Thank you for saving us," Taeho said. The Nevari made a sound like grinding metal. It might have been laughter. "Do not thank me yet, human. You entered Nevari space without permission. That is a crime. The Queen herself is coming to decide your fate." Over the next 3 days, Taeho healed slowly. The Nevari doctors were fascinated by him. They had never treated a human before. They studied his wounds, asking him questions about pain tolerance and healing factors. Taeho answered when he could, but mostly he worried about Hae-sun. On the 4th day, she came to see him. Her arm was in a cast, but otherwise she looked healthy. When she saw Taeho sitting up in bed, tears filled her eyes. "You stupid, brave fool," she said, sitting beside him. "You could have died. But I didn't," Taeho said with a small smile. "And you're safe. My mother is trying to negotiate our release. The coalition is involved now, but the Nevari are being difficult." Hae-sun held his hand gently. "Taeho, they keep asking about you, about what you did. I think they're impressed." That afternoon, Queen Velsara arrived. Taeho had never seen anyone like her. She was larger than the other Nivari, standing nearly 8 feet tall. Her body armor was made of gleaming black metal, decorated with red symbols. She had 6 arms instead of 4, and each one carried a weapon or symbol of authority. The queen entered the medical bay with a dozen guards. Everyone in the room bowed low except Taeho, who could barely stand. "So this is the human," Queen Velsara said. Her voice was deep and powerful, even through the translator. "The one who attacked a pirate fortress alone." "I did what was necessary," Taeho said. The queen walked around his bed, studying him like he was an interesting insect. "Our doctors showed me your medical scans. You took wounds that would kill most warriors. You lost half your blood. Your lung was punctured. Yet you kept fighting until the female was safe." "Yes." "Why?" Taeho looked at the queen directly. "Because she needed help. Because no one else would go." The queen made that grinding sound again. "The coalition refused to rescue her because they feared us. They feared starting a war. Yet you, one small human, did not fear." "I was terrified," Taeho admitted. "But fear is not a reason to abandon someone." The queen stopped walking. For a long moment, she just stared at him. Then she turned to her guards and spoke in the Nivari language. They responded, and an argument began. Taeho could not understand the words, but he could hear the tension. Finally, the queen turned back to him. In Nivari culture, there is an ancient law. When a warrior shows ultimate sacrifice, when they bleed for another without thought of reward, they demonstrate the highest honor. Such warriors are precious. They are treasures. Taeho did not like where this was going. "I invoke the claim of the worthy," Queen Velsara announced. "You, human called Taeho, are hereby claimed as my personal prize. You will join my household as my future consort." The room went silent. Even the guards seemed shocked. "What?" Taeho said. "You demonstrated worth beyond measure. By our law, I have the right to claim you. You will live in my palace. You will be honored, protected, given every luxury. In time, you will become my mate and help strengthen the royal bloodline." "No," Taeho said simply. The queen's head tilted. "No? I belong to no one. I'm not a prize to be claimed. I'm a human being, and I choose my own path." Taeho stood up from the bed, his legs shaking but his voice firm. "I respect your culture, but I will not be owned." The guards made angry clicking sounds. Some raised their weapons. No one refused a royal claim. It was unthinkable. But Queen Velsara raised one hand, and her guards stopped. She looked at Taeho with what might have been curiosity. "You refuse the greatest honor a Nivari can give?" "I do." "You would rather die than join my household?" "I would rather live free than die in a golden cage," Taeho said. The queen was silent for a long time. Then she made a decision. "Very well. You are interesting, human. I will give you a choice. Participate in the trials of worth. If you survive, I will release you. If you fail, the claim stands and you become mine." "What are these trials?" "Combat tests designed for Nivari warriors. They measure strength, intelligence, and will. No alien species has ever completed them." The queen smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Most do not survive the first trial." Taeho thought about his options. If he refused, the queen would likely keep him anyway. If he accepted and died, at least he would die fighting. And if he won, he would be free. "I accept," he said. "Excellent." Queen Velsara turned to leave, then paused. "You are very brave, human, or very stupid. The trials begin in 3 days. Use that time to heal. You will need every advantage." After she left, Hae-sun grabbed Taeho's arm. "Are you insane? Those trials are deadly. What choice do I have? We can escape." My mother can send ships and start a war. Taeho shook his head. No, I'll do this the right way. I'll beat their trials and walk out of here free. Hae-sun looked at him with fear and admiration. You really believe you can win? Taeho smiled, though he felt no confidence. I survived 40 pirates with 5 bullets. How much worse can this be? He would soon find out. The training room was massive, with high ceilings and walls made of dark metal. Taeho stood in the center, still feeling weak from his injuries. 3 days of healing was not enough, but the queen would not wait longer. A HFY warrior entered the room. He was old, with scars covering his armor plates. I am Kryeth, he said through his translator. The queen ordered me to prepare you for the trials. This is a waste of my time. You will die in the first test. Then teaching me should be easy, Taeho said. Kryeth made an annoyed clicking sound. The first trial is combat drones. They will attack from all directions. You must destroy all of them or survive for 10 minutes. Most HFY warriors train for years before attempting this. How many drones? 20. Taeho nodded slowly. What weapons can I use? Any you can reach in the arena. But the drones are fast and their weapons are real. If they hit you, you will die. For the next 2 days, Kryeth showed Taeho the basics of HFY combat. It focused on strength and direct confrontation. Warriors met their enemies face to face, matching power against power. Taeho knew he could not fight that way. He was not strong enough. Instead, he watched and learned about the drones. He studied their patterns, their programming, their weaknesses. On the day of the first trial, thousands of HFY gathered to watch. The arena was a dome-shaped building with seats rising on all sides. Taeho walked onto the sand floor and looked up at the crowd. They were clicking and hissing, excited to see the human fail. Queen Velsara sat on a high throne, watching with her dark eyes. Begin! Someone shouted. The drones dropped from the ceiling, 20 metal spheres that immediately spread out in attack formation. They began firing laser bolts at Taeho from every direction. Taeho ran. He did not try to fight them head-on. Instead, he sprinted toward the weapons rack at the edge of the arena, diving and rolling as laser bolts scorched the sand around him. He grabbed a metal shield and held it up, deflecting the shots. The crowd hissed with disappointment. Running was not honorable, but Taeho did not care about honor. He cared about surviving. He studied the drone's pattern as they circled him. They were programmed to attack in waves, 3 at a time. After each wave, there was a 2-second pause while they repositioned. Taeho waited for the next pause, then threw his shield like a disc at the nearest drone. The shield hit it perfectly, smashing the drone to pieces. In the same motion, Taeho grabbed a plasma rifle and fired at 2 more drones, destroying them before they could react. The crowd went silent. That was not how HFY fought. Taeho kept moving, never staying in one place. He used the fallen drones as cover, picking up their parts and throwing them at other drones to confuse their sensors. When 5 drones grouped together, he shot the ground beneath them, creating a cloud of sand that blinded their targeting systems. Then he destroyed them one by one. The 10 minutes ended with Taeho standing among the wreckage of all 20 drones. He was breathing hard, and a laser burn marked his left arm, but he was alive. Queen Velsara stood from her throne. The human passes the first trial. The second trial came 3 days later. This time, Taeho had to navigate a course filled with deadly traps while being hunted by automated weapons. HFY warriors used their strength to smash through obstacles. Taeho used his brain. He noticed the traps followed patterns. He used pieces of his own clothing to trigger pressure plates from a distance. He moved slowly and carefully, thinking 3 steps ahead. The third trial was worse. Taeho had to fight in an arena that changed temperature from freezing cold to burning heat every 30 seconds. The HFY bodies could handle these extremes better than humans. Taeho nearly died. He felt his skin burning, then freezing, then burning again. But he noticed something the Nevari had not. The center of the arena had vents that released the hot and cold air. By standing on top of the vents at the right time, he could reduce the temperature swings. It was still painful, but it was survivable. After each trial, Krieth looked at him with less contempt and more curiosity. "You do not fight like a warrior," he said. "No," Taeho agreed. "I fight like a human." During the rest period before the fourth trial, Taeho met another prisoner in the holding cells. His name was Korvan, a Nevari who had been exiled from his clan. "You are the human everyone is talking about," Korvan said. "You fight strangely, but you win." "I do what works," Taeho said. "The queen watches you carefully. Do you know why she really claimed you?" "She said it was about honor." Korvan laughed bitterly. "Honor is part of it, but there is more. The Nevari Empire is dying human. Our people cannot change, cannot adapt. We follow the old ways, and the old ways are killing us. The queen sees something in you, something her people have lost. What is that? The ability to survive by changing, the willingness to sacrifice for others. These things were once Nevari values long ago. Now we care only about strength and tradition." Korvan looked sad. "She does not want you as a prize, human. She wants you as proof that there are still beings in the universe who value what we have forgotten." This information troubled Taeho, but he had no time to think about it. The fourth trial was announced. This time he had to fight actual Nevari warriors, 3 of them armed and armored. The crowd roared as Taeho entered the arena. The 3 warriors stood waiting, each one a trained killer. They looked at Taeho like he was an insect to be crushed. The fight began. The warriors attacked together, using coordinated strikes meant to overwhelm him. Taeho could not match their strength. When he blocked one warrior's strike, the force nearly broke his arm. But he noticed something. They fought with predictable patterns. The same moves they had trained for years. They expected him to fight back the same way. Instead, Taeho became unpredictable. He targeted their legs, their joints, the weak points in their armor. He used sand from the arena floor, throwing it into their eyes. He feigned weakness, making them overextend, then struck when they were off balance. When one warrior raised his weapon for a powerful overhead strike, Taeho did not try to block it. Instead, he rolled between the warrior's legs and struck the back of his knee joint. The warrior fell, and Taeho used his own weapon against the second warrior. The crowd was screaming now, some in anger, some in disbelief. The final warrior was the strongest. He grabbed Taeho and lifted him off the ground, preparing to crush him. Taeho could feel his ribs starting to crack. With his last strength, Taeho headbutted the warrior's face, right where the eye slits in his helmet were. The warrior's grip loosened just enough. Taeho twisted free, grabbed a fallen weapon, and struck the warrior's neck joint. The warrior fell. Silence filled the arena. Then, slowly, some of the Nevari began to click their mandibles together. It was their version of applause. Taeho collapsed to his knees, exhausted and injured. But he had won. Queen Velsara descended from her throne and walked across the arena sand. She stopped in front of Taeho and looked down at him. "You have completed the trials of worth," she said. "No alien has ever done this. You have earned your freedom." Taeho looked up at her, barely able to stand. "Then I'm free to go?" The queen hesitated. For the first time, Taeho saw uncertainty in her eyes. "You are free, but before you leave, there is something you must know." Queen Velsara led Taeho to a private chamber in her palace. The room was dark, lit only by soft blue lights. Maps and data screens covered the walls, showing Nevari worlds across the galaxy. "Sit," the queen commanded. "Your injuries need rest." Taeho sat confused. "You said I was free to go." "You are. But first, you deserve the truth. The Queen touched a control panel and the screens came to life with charts and numbers. "Look at this data. What do you see?" Tae-ho studied the information. It showed birth rates, population numbers, and genetic diversity across the Navari Empire. All of the lines were falling, dropping lower every year. "Your population is declining," Tae-ho said. "Yes, for 300 years, we have been dying slowly." The Queen's voice was heavy with sadness. "Our society is built on genetic hierarchy. The strongest genes rule, the weakest are cast out. For thousands of years, this made us powerful. Now it is killing us." "I don't understand." The Queen sat across from him, her massive form somehow seeming smaller. "We breed only for strength, for aggression, for combat ability. We eliminated weakness from our bloodlines. But we also eliminated something else, the ability to adapt, the capacity for sacrifice, the willingness to change." She pulled up an image of Navari children. There were so few of them. "Our females produce fewer eggs each generation. Our males become more violent and unstable. We are locked in our ways, unable to see beyond our traditions. The empire that once ruled 50 systems now struggles to maintain 20. "Why are you telling me this?" Tae-ho asked. "Because when I saw what you did, risking everything for someone else, I realized something. You are weak by our standards. Humans are fragile, small, with soft bodies that break easily. Yet you accomplished what my strongest warriors said was impossible." The Queen looked directly at him. "You won because you could change, adapt, think in new ways. You won because you cared about someone more than yourself. These are not rare qualities among humans," Tae-ho said. "Exactly." The Queen stood and walked to the window, looking out over her city. "That is why I claimed you. Not as a trophy, not as a mate, though my people believe that is my intention. I claimed you as a symbol. Proof that the qualities we eliminated from our species still have value. Proof that strength alone is not enough to survive." Tae-ho felt a chill. "You want to use me to change your entire culture? I want to save my people, even if it means admitting we were wrong, even if it means learning from species we once called inferior." The Queen turned back to him. "I give you a choice, Tae-ho. Return to your people as a hero, live your life in peace, or stay here as a free advisor, help me reform Navari society before it collapses." Before Tae-ho could answer, alarms began screaming throughout the palace. Guards burst into the room. "My Queen, the Purist Collective has launched an attack. They are demanding your death and the humans' execution." The Queen's mandibles clicked in anger. "How many?" 300 warriors, my Queen. They have taken control of the Eastern Wing. They say you have betrayed Navari purity by honoring the human." Tae-ho grabbed a weapon from a nearby guard. "Where is Hae-sun?" "The human female is in the guest quarters, in the Eastern Wing." Tae-ho's blood went cold. "They have her." The Queen was already moving, calling orders to her guards. "Seal the palace. Prepare for battle. No one harms the guests." "My Queen, you should evacuate," a guard said. "The purists want you dead. Let us handle this." "I do not hide from traitors," Queen Velsera said coldly. Tae-ho and the Queen moved through the palace together, gathering loyal guards as they went. The sounds of fighting echoed through the corridors. The Purist Collective was a faction of traditional Navari who believed any contact with aliens weakened their species. They found the first group of purists blocking a corridor. 20 warriors in black armor, carrying heavy weapons. "Queen Velsara!" their leader shouted. "You have disgraced the Empire. You honor a weak alien over your own people. You must die so that purity can be restored." The Queen raised one of her 6 arms. "I honor strength in all its forms. You are the weak ones, unable to change, unable to grow. Stand aside or die." The purists attacked. The battle was brutal. Queen Velsara fought with terrifying power, her 6 arms moving like a deadly dance. but she was one against many. Taeho fought beside her using the tactics he had learned in the trials. He was not as strong as the Na'vari, but he was faster, smarter. He targeted weak points, used the environment, turned their own strength against them. They pushed forward, fighting through corridor after corridor. Bodies fell on both sides. Taeho took a blade slash across his chest. The queen was struck by plasma fire on her shoulder. Finally, they reached the eastern wing. The guest quarters had been barricaded. Inside, Taeho could hear HimHFY shouting, along with other human diplomats who had come to negotiate his release. The purist leader stood before the door, holding a detonator. "One more step and I destroy this entire wing. The aliens die and your weakness dies with them." Queen Velsara stopped. "You would kill innocent guests? That is not honor. That is cowardice." "It is necessity," the purist said. "You have forgotten our ways. You must be reminded." "I have forgotten nothing. I have simply learned that our ways are not the only ways." The queen took a step forward. "I will not let you harm them." The purist pressed the detonator. Everything happened in slow motion. Taeho saw the purist's finger move. He saw the detonator activate. He saw the door beginning to explode. And he saw Queen Velsara throw herself in front of the blast. The explosion hit her with massive force. Her armor cracked and shattered. She was thrown backward, crashing into Taeho. They both fell to the ground. Taeho's ears rang. He could taste blood. But he was alive. The queen had protected him, just as he had protected HimHFY. The purist leader stood in shock. The queen? For a human! Loyal guards arrived, overwhelming the remaining purists. The traitors were captured or killed. The rebellion was over. Taeho crawled to the queen's side. She was badly injured, green blood leaking from cracks in her armor. Her breathing was labored. "Why did you do that?" Taeho asked, pressing his hands against her wounds, trying to stop the bleeding. "Because..." The queen's voice was weak. "You showed me that sacrifice is strength, that protecting others is not weakness. I had to prove I learned this lesson." "You're going to be okay," Taeho said, though he was not sure. "Medics! We need medics!" The queen's eye looked at him with something like warmth. "Now you understand, human. This is why I needed you, not to possess you, but to learn from you." HimHFY and the other humans emerged from the guest quarters, shaken but alive. When HimHFY saw Taeho covered in blood, holding the dying queen, she ran to his side. "Taeho, are you hurt?" "She saved us," Taeho said quietly. "She saved all of us." Medical teams arrived, taking the queen away on a stretcher. The palace was in chaos. The purist rebellion had failed, but many were dead, and the queen might not survive. Taeho sat in the corridor, exhausted and bloodied, with HimHFY beside him. "You can leave now," she said softly. "The queen freed you. You won the trials. No one can hold you here." Taeho looked at the direction they had taken the queen. He thought about everything she had said, about her dying empire, her desperate attempt to save her people, her willingness to learn from those she once saw as inferior. "I know," he said. "So what will you do?" Taeho was silent for a long time. The medical wing of the palace smelled like chemicals and fear. Taeho sat outside the queen's recovery room, waiting. 3 days had passed since the purist attack. The doctors said she would live, but her injuries were severe. Ambassador Jiwon, HimHFY's mother, arrived with a coalition diplomatic team. She was a stern woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Taeho," she said, sitting beside him, "you have caused quite a situation." "I didn't mean to," Taeho said. "The Coalition Council is grateful you saved my daughter. But now, we have a political mess. The Na'vari Empire is unstable. Half of them want to execute you for inspiring rebellion. The other half wants to make you some kind of symbol. Ji-won studied him carefully. What do you want? I don't know yet. You should come home. You've done enough. More than enough. Before Tae-ho could respond, a doctor emerged. The Queen requests to see the human. Tae-ho entered the recovery room. Queen Velsara lay on a medical bed, her armor removed. Her body wrapped in healing wraps. She looked smaller without the armor, more vulnerable. You stayed, she said. I wanted to make sure you survived. I will live, thanks to good doctors and stubborn biology. The Queen managed a clicking sound that might have been a laugh. I have been thinking, human, about what you said before, about belonging to no one. You were right. I was. I cannot force you to stay. I cannot claim you like a prize. That was arrogance. She shifted on the bed, wincing with pain. But I can ask. I can ask if you would choose to stay, not as my possession, but as my ally. Your people tried to kill me a few days ago. Some of my people. Others now see you as I do, as proof that we need to change. The Queen looked tired. The purist collective is broken, but their beliefs are not. Many Navari still think contact with aliens makes us weak. If you leave now, they will see it as proof they were right, that humans cannot be trusted, cannot be partners. Hae-sun entered the room, followed by her mother. This is not fair, Hae-sun said to the Queen. You are asking him to sacrifice himself again, to give up his life for your politics. I am asking him to choose, Queen Velsara said, freely, without pressure. There is always pressure, Ji-won added. The pressure of knowing what happens if he refuses. The guilt of letting an empire fall. Tae-ho looked at all three of them. Three powerful beings, each wanting something different from him. The Queen wanted him to stay and help reform her society. Ji-won wanted him to return to Earth and avoid more political problems. And Hae-sun, he looked at her. Her eyes were wet with tears she was trying to hide. What do you want? Tae-ho asked her quietly. I want you to be happy, Hae-sun said. I want you to be free, but I also... She paused, struggling with the words. I also want you to come home. I almost lost you twice. I don't want to lose you again. The room fell silent. Tae-ho stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the Navari city stretching to the horizon. He thought about everything that had happened. The rescue, the trials, the rebellion, the Queen's sacrifice. Then he thought about something else, about the human exchange students back on Earth who learned from alien teachers, about the coalition that brought different species together, about the idea that understanding between different people could prevent wars. I have a proposal, Tae-ho said, turning back to them. I will stay, but not as the Queen's advisor, not as anyone's possession or symbol. Then as what? Queen Velsara asked. As Earth's ambassador to the Navari Empire. Ji-won's eyes widened. That is a real position. It requires approval from both governments. Then get approval, Tae-ho said. The Queen needs someone who understands both humans and Navari, someone who can help bridge the gap between our species. I can do that. Not because I'm owned, but because I choose to. And you would live here? Among the Navari? Hae-sun asked. For a time. But ambassadors travel. I would return to Earth regularly. Report to the coalition. Bring other humans here to learn and teach. Tae-ho looked at the Queen. And I would help bring Navari to Earth. Create real exchange. Real understanding. Queen Velsara was quiet for a long moment. Then she clicked her mandibles in what Tae-ho now recognized as approval. This is acceptable. Better than acceptable. An ambassador has authority, respect. This would give you the power to make real changes. It would also protect you, Ji-won said thoughtfully. As an official ambassador, you have diplomatic immunity. The purists cannot touch you without starting a war. What about me? Hae-sun asked quietly. Tae-ho went to her and took her hand. I'm not disappearing forever. I'll come home. Between assignments, between missions, and maybe, he hesitated. Maybe you could visit here sometimes. Learn about the Nivari. Help with the cultural exchange. You are asking me to wait for you, Hae-sun said. I'm asking you to understand why I need to do this. Not for the Queen, not for politics, but because I saw something here. Tae-ho gestured to the city outside. I saw an entire civilization on the edge of collapse because they couldn't change, couldn't learn from others. If I can help prevent that, if I can build a real bridge between humans and Nivari, maybe it prevents the next war. Maybe it saves millions of lives. Hae-sun was crying now, but she was also smiling. You really are a stupid, brave fool. Is that a yes? It's an I understand. It's an I'm proud of you. It's a please come back to me when you can. She kissed him gently. Yes, Tae-ho, I'll wait. Because what you're doing matters. Over the next 3 weeks, the paperwork was processed. Earth's government approved the ambassador position. The Nivari Council, with the Queen's strong support, accepted it. Tae-ho was officially made the first human ambassador to the Nivari Empire. The ceremony was held in the Queen's throne room. Thousands of Nivari attended, along with human diplomats and coalition representatives. Tae-ho wore formal diplomatic robes, feeling strange and uncomfortable. Queen Velsara stood from her throne, still healing but strong enough to perform the ritual. She placed a medal around Tae-ho's neck. It was made of Nivari metal, inscribed with symbols. This human, she announced to the crowd, has shown us that strength comes in many forms. That sacrifice is not weakness but the highest honor. That change is not betrayal but survival. I name him Corthana, which means bridge between stars in the old language. The crowd clicked their approval. Not all of them, Tae-ho noticed. Some remained silent, disapproving. But more than half accepted him. It was a start. That night, Tae-ho stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Hae-sun stood beside him. When do you leave? He asked. Tomorrow morning. My mother wants me back on Earth for debriefing. She leaned against him. When will I see you again? 3 months. I have to establish the embassy here, set up the exchange program, train the first group of human students who want to learn Nivari culture. 3 months, she repeated. That is a long time. I know. They stood in silence, watching the alien stars above. Tae-ho, Hae-sun said. Do you regret it? Coming to rescue me? Everything that happened after? He thought about the question carefully. The pain, the trials, the blood, the fear. The Queen's claim, the rebellion, the impossible choices. No, he said finally. I don't regret it. Because maybe this is what I was meant to do. Not just rescue one person, but help 2 civilizations understand each other. That is a heavy burden. Yes, but I don't carry it alone anymore. He looked at her. I have you waiting for me. I have the Queen supporting me. I have humans and Nivari who want this to work. Hae-sun kissed him one more time. Then make it work, Ambassador. Show them what one human can do. The next morning, Tae-ho stood in the palace courtyard, watching Hae-sun's shuttle lift off into the sky. His chest ached, but he also felt something else. Purpose. Hope. Queen Velsara approached, walking without assistance for the first time since her injury. She will return, the Queen said. I know. And you will visit Earth. Yes. Good. The Queen looked up at the sky where the shuttle had disappeared. You are building something important here, Tae-ho. A bridge, as your title says. It will not be easy. I know that too. But you will do it anyway. Taeho smiled. Because that's what humans do. We do impossible things because no one else will. We build bridges where others see walls. We sacrifice ourselves for a better future. Queen Velsara made her clicking approval sound. Then let us begin, bridge between stars. Let us show both our peoples what is possible when strength meets wisdom, when power meets compassion. Taeho looked at the queen, at the palace, at the alien city that was now his responsibility to protect and change. He had bled to rescue a princess. He had fought to earn his freedom. Now he would work to save an empire, not because he was claimed, not because he was forced, but because he chose to. And that choice made all the difference.